Zimbabwe's car shortages have reached alarming levels, with people being forced to sleep in queues outside banks in an effort to secure cash from their accounts. The Southern African nation uses the US dollar as its currency after the local currency ZIM dollar was scrapped in 2008 due to hyperinflation.
Well, let's head to South Sudan now, where inflation raced to a whopping 835.7% in the year to October from 682.1% in September. Now, the rate has been driven up by rising prices of food and non-alcoholic drinks as the economy of the five-year-old nation continues to reel from conflict. The prices soared an alarming 1,002.2% during the period. Of course, inflation had stood at around 95.7% in the year to October 2015. Oil-producing South Sudan secured independence from Sudan in 2011, but in December 2013 slid into civil war after a dispute between President Salva Kiir and his former deputy Riek Machar. Now, a peace deal signed in 2015 has failed to stick, and sporadic fighting between rival soldiers has continued, leaving many of the nation's 11 million people struggling to find enough to eat.
Turkey's currency has plummeted to a new historic low. In the past month, it's lost 10% of its value. In an economy highly dependent on imports, Turkish businesses are being hit hard.
The more the dollar goes up, the less business we do here. Some days we have no customers, sometimes just a few. We can't make ends meet.
Our main problem is raw materials. In Turkey we use a lot of raw materials coming in from abroad, and because we import in dollars, our costs have skyrocketed.
There's little hope of a turnaround anytime soon, amid flagging growth and political instability following July's failed coup. And this week's vote by the EU Parliament to freeze talks on Turkey's membership sent the lira spiralling again.
Retailers are already battling a contraction in spending. Rising costs and paying off debt is shrinking disposable income, leaving consumers with little in their pockets. Even the cost on basics has risen rapidly. Food, which makes up for 40% of household expenditure, is up 12%. The prices of fruit and vegetables have gone up by 25% and 15% respectively.
Fruit and vegetables were the highest on a year-on-year basis. There's going to be a reallocation in terms of priorities in the food basket, although it's relatively difficult for the poor consumer to actually make changes because everything's actually expensive at the moment.
Prices are expected to remain elevated largely as a result of the drought. Maize production halved to around 7 million tons this year, forcing the country to export grain.
At lunchtime in Cairo, restaurants like this are packed full of customers, most of them eating kushari. Affectionately known as Egypt's national dish, kushari is a combination of several ingredients: lentils, rice, chickpeas and pasta, served with a spicy tomato sauce and crispy fried onions. Nothing beats its taste or price, especially for low-income earners.
I eat kushari often, 3 or 4 times a week. It's delicious.
It's a tasty mix that is guaranteed to keep you full all day long. But even the cheap kushari has become more expensive, especially after the devaluation of the Egyptian pound. A bowl now costs about $1, a hefty sum for an Egyptian who earned an average $98 a week last year. As most of the ingredients are imported, sellers say price hikes were inevitable.
All the ingredients are more expensive. I've been forced to increase my prices. Also, everything costs more these days. Electricity, gas, water and wages. If I don't raise prices, I'll be making a loss.
Since we give them water for a day, 2 days, or 3 days, and sometimes they even go for a week without water.
At 6:32 this morning, many people are having to watch the way we use water. Governor Nathan Deal declared a level 2 drought for 52 counties in North Georgia and Metro Atlanta.
With the lack of rain and no relief in sight, Governor Nathan Deal declared a level 2 drought Thursday afternoon.
We're all, of course, praying for rain, and that will be the only thing that really will relieve us in the long term.
The governor imposed water restrictions for 52 counties, including Metro Atlanta.
We can always go to a higher level of drought restrictions. We believe for right now this will hopefully be sufficient.
With the level 2 drought in effect, you can only water your lawns on certain days, but commercial car wash companies can wash cars or power wash.
I only think that it needs to rain soon because it is just not good.
Atlanta watershed officials implemented a new rule to save water.
Asking our restaurants to only serve water to customers who request it.
With no measurable rain in sight, the wildfires continue to burn, torching 30,000 acres of forests across the North Georgia mountains.
It only lasted seconds.
I felt a big sound or a big boom and then a couple of jolts to my house.
But that shaking, unmistakable.
It was so fast though. We kind of like, okay, it's earthquake.
From Lehigh to Saratoga Springs, Bluffdale, even Riverton and Draper, hundreds felt the rumblings.
It's a good shake. It's nothing we'd expect damage from in sort of typical situations, but enough to sort of wake you up, maybe rattle the windows a little bit.
University of Utah seismographs recorded the 3.2 magnitude jolt. The earth moved deep beneath the surface, about 6 miles down. This earthquake, not the only movement going on.
There might be some aftershocks.
Those aftershocks would be too light to feel, but Lehigh Emergency Management was still keeping an eye on the situation.
This was just very small, so we just monitored it.
No damage, but lots of excitement.
We were just like, what was that?
They all came running to Grandma this morning.
Something to talk about this holiday weekend.
Arctic sea ice is melting at such an alarming rate that scientists are warning it might trigger uncontrollable changes across the globe. The Arctic Resilience Report, published Friday following a 5-year study, warns of 19 tipping points, conditions that, once met, fundamentally alter the function of an ecosystem. One of the biggest points of no return in the Arctic would be a change in thermohaline circulation, an ocean current that distributes heat and ocean water around the globe. Large amounts of warm, fresh water, like what comes off melting glaciers and ice caps, could disrupt or even stop that current. But scientists admit this happening is highly unlikely. We're already seeing isolated incidents of a few tipping points, though. In parts of the Arctic, scientists have seen collapses of food webs where large predatory fish almost completely vanish and leave only their prey. Most of the tipping points are actually shifts in ecosystems: tundra to forest, marshes to tidal flats, coniferous to deciduous forests, that sort of thing. But shifts like those are a pretty big deal. Usually only a small subpopulation of species has the genes to survive such shifts, leading to a major loss in genetic diversity. And as ecosystems dominated by permafrost begin to thaw, methane, an incredibly strong greenhouse gas, gets released into the atmosphere, speeding up climate change.
Otto was the first hurricane ever known to have hit Costa Rica, and it caused a national emergency to be declared. In a tweet, Costa Rica's president said that at least 9 people had been killed and 2,500 evacuated. He declared 3 days of national mourning. Otto battered the country with high winds and torrential rain after it arrived on Thursday morning. Severe weather caused by Otto killed 4 people in Panama earlier in the week.
Muni hacked
the cyber attack that is giving passengers free rides all over San Francisco.
Source with SFMTA who did not want to go on camera told me that the system actually has been hacked for days and riders have been able to get unused Muni for free. Well, this is what SFMTA is officially confirming, though. They say that the Muni computer system has been hacked, but it has not affected any of the services. A spokesperson with the transit agency says it is an ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, riders will notice a few things. The metro gates at several stations are wide open right now, and the system is not reading any payment cards. When we were down in the Embarcadero station just a few minutes ago, we saw that the ticket sales kiosks were also out of service.
I think it's terrifying. I really do. If they can start doing this, here, we're not safe anywhere.
It's like, is this like part of Black Friday deal or something? I have no idea. Like, I didn't know it was out of service.
SFMTA says they are working to resolve this issue as soon as possible. The hack does more than just affect riders, but SFMTA employees as well. My source tells me employees right now aren't sure if they're going to get paid this week. Now, my source also said the hack affected the email system. No word on who might be behind the hack or what the hacker or hackers want in return. Again, SFMTA is only confirming that there has been a hack and they are working to resolve this issue.
Financial institutions have spent years developing policies and protections and raising awareness among consumers to guard against malicious hackers who have stolen millions of dollars breaking into individual online bank accounts. But the threat against banks has reached far beyond that level, as cyber criminals are now targeting the bank's own computers with often dramatic results. Over the past 18 months, some criminals have turned to bank networks, breaking in and then finding ways to make dozens of machines unload their cash simultaneously. The Wall Street Journal's Robert McMillan reports that in Taiwan and Thailand earlier this year, criminals programmed bank ATMs to spew cash. Gang members stood in front of the machines at the appointed hour and collected millions of dollars. Earlier this month, the Federal Bureau of Investigation warned U.S. banks of the potential for similar attacks. The FBI said in a bulletin that it is, quote, monitoring emerging reports indicating that well-resourced and organized malicious cyber actors have intentions to target the U.S. financial sector, unquote. The FBI bulletin cited software used by a Russian gang known as Butrap. Computer security specialists say Butrap and other gangs honed their techniques on Russian banks, then expanded to other countries. Sometimes the hackers break into the systems that process transactions on banking payment networks. Other times they've hit ATM networks directly. In Taiwan, police on July 10th received a report of loose currency lying on a First Commercial Bank ATM. ATMs were, quote, abnormally spitting out bills, unquote, police said. By July 11th, criminals had collected more than $2.6 million in cash without using ATMs. 22 people, most from Eastern Europe, waited by ATMs to remove the money. 3 suspects were later arrested and over $77 million recovered. According to a security expert at Symantec, ATMs in the U.S. tend to be newer and harder to attack than overseas systems, though some are, quote, just as ill protected.
Now, labeled one of New York City's weirdest and most iconic skyscrapers, 33 Thomas Street has been a source of mystery for many years. Constructed and owned by AT&T, this faceless concrete tower has been linked to the NSA.
Built to withstand a nuclear bomb, this New York City skyscraper is one of the most important assets to the NSA. Known as the AT&T Long Lines building, the 550-foot tall tower has 29 floors with 3 levels and has not one single window in its walls. But for many years, the New York skyscraper located at 33 Thomas Street has been a source of mystery. Photographer Stanley Greenberg is one of the few people who were able to gain access to the building.
I knew the AT&T building because I had worked nearby there for a while. And it always seemed kind of mysterious because there's no windows, and I knew it was all electronics inside. So I got in touch with the AT&T press office, and they didn't have any trouble with my going in. Of course, it was 1992, so it was a long time ago.
Formerly known as Project X, an AT&T subsidiary commissioned the tower to house long-distance phone lines. Completed in 1974, it was built to withstand an atomic blast. The architect even made plans to include enough food, water, and generate fuel to sustain 1,500 people for 2 weeks during a catastrophic loss of power. But now it appears the building served another purpose. Aside from housing landlines, powerful computers, and switchboards, the mysterious building also doubles as a wiretapping facility that targets calls, faxes, and internet traffic, according to an article in The Intercept. The National Security Agency refers to the tower as Titan Point, which is one of the most used facilities used to collect communications, according to the article and documents leaked by whistleblower Edward Snowden. The article details secret NSA travel guides dated from April 2011 to February 2013 that was written to assist NSA employees visiting various facilities, and discloses that Titan Point is in New York City. A world where every aspect of our daily lives is either monitored through social media, smartphone applications, or websites. Whatever spying may be going on here at 33 Thomas Street would at least be subjected to legal oversight.
Campaign will be taking part in the vote recount effort initiated by Jill Stein. Stein started crowdfunding for recounts in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan earlier this week. So far, only a recount in Wisconsin has been filed. In a statement released on Medium, Clinton's general counsel said the camp will participate to ensure the process is fair to all sides. He also said if the Green Party candidate filed recounts in Michigan and Pennsylvania, Clinton would be on board. The team acknowledged the uniqueness of the 2016 election in that it faced an unusual amount of foreign interference, like Russian hacking of the Democratic National Committee and other private documents. But the statement said the team found no actionable evidence that suggests hacking of the U.S. voting systems to alter election results. Nonetheless, the council said even though the margin is well above one ever overcome in a recount, it supports efforts to ensure the accuracy of results in those states.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has lashed out at the Green Party for arranging a vote recount in the state of Wisconsin. Now, Trump in a statement said the Green Party candidate Jill Stein's request is, quote, a way to fill her coffers with money. He called the move a scam, adding that most of the money which was raised would never even be spent on the recount process. Now, this comes after an election campaign for Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton said that it intended to take part in the Wisconsin recount. An election lawyer for the Democratic candidate has announced that the campaign will also join recounts in the states of Michigan and Pennsylvania if they're arranged. The result would need to be overturned in all three battleground states in order to change the outcome of the U.S. presidential election.
But I'm just so grateful. I am. I'm not embarrassed anymore.
Sylvia Murray is relieved now. Relieved that the home she's lived in for 22 years has been given some tender, loving care from some local Boy Scouts with Troop 600 in the city of Tonawanda. Sylvia is disabled, and through a friend's post on Facebook and some help from City Hall, the Scouts were contacted, and just 2 days later they began to mow, clean, trim, and rake. A complete yard makeover.
I cried. I appreciate this so much. I can't do anything anymore because I'm disabled. And I'm embarrassed. And I'm so happy.
Sylvia told us her grass was so high, she even had trouble walking her dog. And the tree limbs were so overgrown, they covered her windows. After some help from 6 young strangers, she feels like the weight of the world has been lifted off her shoulders.
Oh, what they've done so far is like a miracle here. I feel better because, there's a lot of people that come by that walk dogs and have to look at this.
The Scoutmaster says these kids never complain and they love to do community service on a weekly basis. Sylvia even heard it firsthand.
And they are glad to do it. The one kid said, "Can I come back next time?" I said, "Absolutely. When the snow flies, you can come back again."